Nebraska high school sports fans, welcome in to another episode of the Prep Zone Report. I'm Dillon Adams, back for another week with my co-hosts here, Mike Patterson and Stu Pospisil. How are you guys today?
Good.
Doing good, Dillon.
We had a nice night at Creighton Prep Sports Night last night with Lee Trevino, and you can click on my column and also get a short video interview with him and talking about the snake and Jack Nicklaus and kind of lamenting the loss of some of his former foes like Arnold Palmer.
And Tom Weiskopf.
Yes, so that was during the speech. We talked more about Arnie and Jack during the video interview, but nice night.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yep. He's got stories to tell, that's for sure. I mean, you can sit around for hours listening to Lee. I mean,
he was flying out at 9 a.m. He says, I can stay here.
Yeah,
I mean, people would listen.
Everybody except for maybe Prep AD Dan Schinzel said, "Yeah, okay, let's stay." But Dan's
he had to clean up and get gym class going on Tuesday morning.
Back to normal today.
Yeah, no kidding. So, well, we can segue in here, I guess, a little bit to what was at the beginning of the season looked like the biggest game of the year, right? Omaha Westside versus Bellevue West. Huddle. You know, they were there with their Game of the Week crew for the big broadcast online, and it turned out to be not much of a game at all, guys. Mike, you were there. If you want to kind of get into the route of the T-Birds.
Right. Well, I've seen Westside twice this season. They really put the hurt on Prep, their first game, Westside's first game, and they really did the same to Bellevue West on Friday night. The Warriors are just really that good this season, and they jump on opponents. They were ahead 24-0 on Friday night and just kind of cruised home after that. But, yeah, you mentioned the preseason number 1 and number 2, and everybody had pointed to it. But when North beat Bellevue West a couple weeks ago, that kind of took a little bit of the luster off of it. And then I think Stu ranked Bellevue West 8th after that. So, but still, Bellevue West, a good team. They're always tough at home, well-coached and everything. But and that Westside defense just smothered them in that first half, and the Warriors just took it home from there. And it started with quarterback Anthony Rizak, responsible for 5 TDs. He threw for 3, ran for 2, including a 79-yard run. So a great game. And Caleb Benning, another real playmaker for Westside. Seems like he steps up every week. He had a touchdown catch and intercepted a pass, and I could go on and on about all the great players they've got this season. So, Warriors are looking really strong right now.
Mike, with the defense, was it the line that was taking charge, or was it the coverage?
I think it was a combination of both. I mean, the running game just wasn't really there, and, Bellevue West always known for their passing game, but they couldn't really get that going either. And, I mentioned to you after the game, Davon Hall got hurt in that game, so that's another tough blow for the T-Birds. So
Zay Morris returns, and then Davon Hall is out.
Right.
Yeah.
And could be for the year if that injury to the elbow's that serious.
Right.
You know, they go to Kearney this week. Kearney's had Bellevue West number now for several years. That's not an easy game to get healthy. Kearney's sitting there at number 6, 3-0. You know, Bellevue West could be looking at about a 3-4 start. They could be because they have Gretna still on the schedule. They lost 4 games last year, counting the playoffs, and that's not quite the record I'm sure Mike Huffman down there expected. But they're gonna have to step up in the lines from what I saw the 2 games I've covered them, and they've got to get Danny Kalin connecting with his receivers, especially Isaiah McMorris, because he can stretch the field. Ben Goodwater, I think, was their top receiver, caught at least 1 touchdown pass against Westside. But, right now, hey, my number 2 stayed alive for another week.
Yeah, Millard South.
We have that anyway going for us. Millard South was dominant again. Yeah,
racked up 655 yards, 48 or 49-19 against Millard North. Maybe it was even higher.
Yeah, I think they put a 50 burger on. I think it was
maybe
54.
54.
Yeah.
It was almost the highest total Millard North had ever given up.
Wow.
Millard South this week goes out to Gretna, number 2, number 3. I'm going to be there. Gretna's this year going to probably want to try and slow down. Last year was St. Flores. They would try and outscore anybody along with a good defense. But I think this one has to kind of stay in the 20s for Gretna, it looks like.
And the Dragons really escaped against
Yes.
Prep last week, so and they're always tough at home. So we'll see what Gretna has this week.
Is that where we want to head now?
Yeah, I mean, that was the column over the weekend. The referees, in your opinion, Stu, got it right. I mean, there was
in the Gretna Prep game, certainly. For those unaware, unknowing, Gretna and Prep were in double overtime. Gretna had a field goal kick blocked after Prep had thrown an interception, so it was the half inning of Gretna. The ball is loose, and the whistle clearly sounds 2 or 3 times. But the ball's still loose, so it's considered an inadvertent whistle.
right.
Gretna's kicker, Cam Bothwell, picks the ball up finally and goes out of bounds. But that's immaterial at that point because of the inadvertent whistle. Gretna gets to replay the down because it goes to the previous spot with possession. Bothwell Prep can't get the block this time, and they'd blocked 2 extra points the week before, so nothing was going to be guaranteed by the kicking game.
Yeah.
But Bothwell knocks it through, and Gretna wins 27-24, and Prep Nation kind of was going, what's going on here? Tim Young handled it well. Prep's coach. Inadvertent whistles are unfortunate on any level. The rules apply to all levels with inadvertent whistles. And so the refs got it right there. We had a situation a little further south on Friday night. Conestoga played Freeman. Conestoga, first of all, Conestoga had 3 chances at a field goal. First one, it was a kind of a fire drill type thing where they had to move the ball up. They're playing on an 8-man, 11-man field. So the goalpost, they had to move the ball, advance to get the right distance. That caused some confusion with Conestoga didn't have any timeouts. Field goal was stopped because of a false start penalty. Moved 5 yards back. This time it gets blocked by Freeman. Freeman kid picks up the ball beyond the line of scrimmage and starts jogging towards the team that's celebrating on the field. Well, he's still eligible to run that back. Time is expiring, but the ball's still in play. He gets towards his teammates and lobs the ball back towards the official, thinking that the game's over. Well, the official doesn't touch the ball because at that point there's not been a whistle. Right. So the ball rolls dead in front of the Conestoga bench. The Conestoga coaches frantically point to the ball, tell their players, somebody get it and run to the end zone. And they get to the end zone. The officials huddle. One says touchdown, one says ball's dead. So they order a re-kick.
Okay.
And this one just barely misses, so we don't have overtime down there. Freeman escapes, and Conestoga falls to 0-3. And then Mike had an inadvertent whistle in his Westside game.
Right. Didn't really affect the game because Westside was that far ahead, but Stu and I have talked at length about what happened in that Prep Gretna game, and by the letter of the law and the National Federation, the refs did get it right. But, boy, I really hate to see that whistle wreck that play because what was important was the blocking of the kick.
Yes.
And, yes, the ball was still live, but, I can see where Prep Nation would be very unhappy about that. So I guess bottom line, and we talked about inadvertent whistles, I think maybe the NSAA's Nate Newhouse, who's in charge of the officials, kind of needs to emphasize, hey, let's just let the play out and let's not blow the whistle early, kind of like they're doing in the NFL now. And then they kind of, granted, they have replay in the NFL, but still, I mean, there were 2 or 3 instances this weekend where those inadvertent whistles really did have an impact on games.
It was a wild finish to that game too, and it's unfortunate that it came down to that as the final play. Well, setting up that final play anyway,
right.
Because the ball traded, back and forth. They traded possessions there at the end of regulation. I think it went Gretna giving the interception and then Prep giving it right back, and then ended up going to overtime anyway at 24-24.
These guys are still making relative pittance.
Yes.
It's not
That needs to be
college
mentioned.
level where they're getting several thousand. It's not pros where, it's a halftime job for guys like Clete Blakeman and people that have jobs, but they're working halftime for the NFL. I mean,
Yeah.
those are where you expect to have the greatest accuracy with their calls. And high schools, we had the call on Bennington and Scott break the
Yes.
plane, did not break the plane. They don't have instant replay. And you also have not in that case, but there are rules specific to high schools that don't apply to to college and pros.
Yeah.
So even sometimes the officials, I feel, get mixed up because I had a situation, Bennington, good defensive win over York, 2-point play. Bennington intercepts the 2-point pass. The officials let the ball go to midfield. On a 2-point play, the defense cannot score in high school, or on a blocked extra point. There's no defensive scores. So,
Right.
again, you got 3 sets of rules, and you have to kind of remember what setting you're in.
Yes, makes sense. So, I mean, that was kind of the topic of conversation, like I said, over the weekend with these whistles. But if we want to get into some more ratings talk here, Stu, you had Bill West and Prep still in, because those were some close losses
Those are
that
close
Prep has
losses.
had.
And, with Papio losing to 0-2, probably better than 0-2 Lincoln Southeast. Papio drops out. I put Lincoln East in because they had beaten Southeast in double overtime the week before. So that the East is in, Papio's out. Most of the top 10 stay the same as before mentioned. Millard South is going to Gretna this week. Prep goes to Millard West, which is number 4. Number 5, Omaha North hosts Omaha Benson, which did score last week. So they're off the schneid.
Yep.
Now it's Omaha Northwest that needs to score. And they go to an undefeated South Sioux City team that obviously doesn't have a quality win yet.
Right.
But, hats off to the Cardinals for getting, I think, more wins than they did last year already.
Yeah.
Class B, it's Bennington and Elkhorn North still at the top. They won't meet until October. Boone Central leads C1. Wahoo had a good win last week over Ashland Greenwood. So Roncalli Pierce is number 3 versus number 6. In C2, Norfolk Catholic and Battle Creek are steaming ahead to their, I believe it's September 29th meeting in Battle Creek. Probably will have to be up there for that one if possible. North Platte St. Pat's leads 8-man 1. South Loop in 8-man 2 with Wynot. Solid win over Howells Dodge, which Wynot went up to 2 and Howells Dodge dropped to 6. And Arthur County, new number 1 in 6-man after Sumner Eddyville Miller avenged last year's finals loss to Lincoln Parkview, big time, 54-6. So
There you go.
that's some major changes in the ratings last week.
Yeah, for sure. So, no, and then now we got the Breakout Baller Award of the week. I didn't talk to you guys before the show about this. I'm thinking Kenyon Cotton of Westside. He had those two touchdown runs, and they were really impressive, too. I mean, he kind of juked out the Bell West defenders on one of them and left him in the dust on the other using his speed. He only has an Iowa State offer. I think he's going to definitely have some more on the way. I think that was his best game so far with the Warriors.
He's been oft injured, both at Papio, where he started as a freshman, and then last year with Westside. So if he stays healthy and continues to do this, his pedigree is so good with Daddy being Curtis Cotton being a ex-Husker, and Kenyon and Kenzo being college level sprinters. Kenyon looks like he's the football brother, and yeah, I would think that there's going to be more with his speed, and maybe down the road they're looking at him because Nebraska's staff purports to love football players with trackster speed. So
Yeah, that's what
he's
Matt Rule-
certainly in
yeah.
that category.
Yeah, definitely.
That
So-
was 2 of Rezak's 3 TD passes. One was for 40 yards and one was for 17 yards. And like I said, he's got a lot of speed.
Only a junior.
Yep.
Yep.
He's usually back there with Caleb Benning. That's 2 really dangerous punt returners, kickoff returners, whatever. And again, couple more weapons for the West Side as if they need them.
Yeah, they have playmakers all over the field. There's no doubt about that. I mean,
Agreed.
the line of scrimmage, too, they kind of dominate that on both sides as well. So definitely an impressive team to watch. What would it take to beat Paul Lamanji's squad this year? I mean, like, it'd be a
Rizak going down at quarterback, I
Well-
think would even it out a little bit. You certainly hope that doesn't happen because he's a tremendous playmaker. Or complacency. I mean, they did go out to North Platte last year, triple option, and lost out there. They're going to have to play North Platte here. But I think knowing what North Platte does, and North Platte maybe doesn't have a Vince Genatone or a Vince Tilford as they had the past couple years, I think Westside will be more than ready for North Platte. Now, they got to go out to Kearney, and if Kearney beats Bellevue West, going on the road, for some reason, Metro teams, I don't care who it is, leaving town sometimes, Papio against Southeast. So,
Yeah.
leaving the friendly confines of the Metro area can play tricks on teams.
Right. I'm interested to see what Millard South can do against them because their defensive effort against Elkhorn South a couple weeks ago was just smothering. And to beat West Side, I think it's going to have to be a real defensive battle, low scoring, and and you can't let West Side get off to a 7-0, 14,
Which team are you
21.
referring to? Which opponent?
Millard South.
Millard South, yeah, that's coming
I
up
see
second
that,
to last
I see
week.
that one going. I see that one being a score fest with the speed on both teams.
Yeah, could
And
be.
that, was that October 13th, I
Yeah,
believe?
second
Yeah.
to last week of the season.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that game goes. I mean, they both have good defenses. They both have good offenses. But, that's one to definitely circle on the calendar,
Well,
fans.
I think Scott and Bennington and Elkhorn North that night too. So
Wow, yeah.
you may have to arm wrestle me, or we're going to play golf. I know I can beat you.
How many aces?
Mike's always got that.
One time
That's right.
feet.
That's right. Got that in my back pocket.
My 30 at Maple Village / Warren Schweigert's more impressive.
Anyway,
Go on to volleyball.
that's how it always goes. Final thought on football. That's how it always goes. Sometimes there's, maybe not a great game on Friday night, and then on that night there's two great games,
Two
or
awesome
maybe even
ones,
more.
yeah.
Who knows? So that's just the way the schedule goes. So let's
Exactly.
touch on volleyball
Okay,
a
yeah,
little
let's
bit,
get to
Dylan.
it.
Yes, the big mover this week was Millard West. They had a really good week. They beat Papio, ranked team in Class A, and they went out to the Kearney Invitational, which is really came up tough this year. And they beat three of the best teams in Class B and handed Bennington their first loss. They beat Elkhorn North, which has been really good. I think they beat Waverly out there too.
Big weekend.
So
Yeah.
big week for Coach Joe Wessel and his squad. But we'll start with the overall top 10. Papio
Sure.
South remains unbeaten. They're 12-0 and rolling right along. And number 2 is Omaha Scott. They lost a couple matches this past weekend, but
Where was that at?
that was
Go
down
on
in
the
Kansas
road.
City.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So Coach Renee Saunders loves to take her team to Florida, Chicago, Kansas City, and get that really tough, toughen them up for
yeah.
later on. So, the record isn't all that impressive, 9-6, but Papio South is ranked 7th this week nationally, and Scott, I think, is ranked 11th. So,
wow.
Got to put an asterisk by that 9-6 record.
Definitely.
Number 3 is Lincoln Southwest. They haven't lost yet. Number 4 is Millard West. They jumped all the way up from number 9. Number 5 is Bennington. As we said, they suffered their first loss. Elkhorn North is 6. Lincoln East 7. Papio 8. Westside 9. Gretna is 10. And our number 1 teams in all the classes, Papio South in A, Scott in B, Grand Island Central Catholic, Sharon Zavala's team in C1, Lincoln Lutheran, riding a 50-plus match win streak, number 1 in C2. Amherst is the new number 1 in D1. They defeated our previous number 1 SEM. And Overton is still number 1 in D2. And I just wanted to say that big tournament this weekend. Of course, they'll be going on down in Lincoln when a little before the Nebraska home opener football-wise.
Tailgating.
But, the Lincoln Public Schools Invitational at Lincoln Southeast Friday and Saturday, and that usually draws pretty much all the top teams. So one to definitely watch this weekend, and we'll see what impact it has on the ratings next week.
Absolutely. So thank you for that, Mike. And I think that will do it for this week. Thanks, guys, again for joining me. And we'll be back to discuss the end of week 4. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.